My name is Lena Marlowe, and I'm 28. 3 years is long enough to convince yourself that a pattern is just a rough patch, that a raised voice is just passion, that a small betrayal is just a misunderstanding. Long enough to put your heart on autopilot and call it loyalty. Long enough to forget what respect actually sounds like. Last Thursday, Mason, 26, my boyfriend, decided our summer for us. He told his cousin we'd be at the destination wedding in Cabo, booked the room block in our names, and dropped it into conversation like weather. No, he didn't ask if I could take time off. No, he didn't check the budget. And when I said calmly, "You can't just assume I'll drop everything because you decided something," he laughed. "Oh, please, Lena, like you have anywhere better to be." "That's not the point," I said. "It's about respect." He tilted his head, smiling the way people do when they've decided your feelings are inconvenient. "Respect? What? You think you're my only option?" Something about the certainty in his voice, casual cruelty worn like cologne, settled into me like a cold coin. I felt the click of a boundary I hadn't heard in years. "Me," I said, "definitely not." "Good," he said, grabbing his keys. "Then stop acting like I need to run every little thing by you. I'm going to Jade's. Don't wait up." When the door closed, it was quiet enough to hear the refrigerator sigh. Our apartment. Technically, my apartment, my name on the lease, my bank account covering 90% of everything, rent, utilities, groceries, his gym, his phone bill on my family plan, champagne taste on a budget that wasn't his. Love had made me generous. Disrespect made me precise. I didn't feel rage, I felt finished. Operation Reality Check started Friday morning while he was at work. Step 1, the phone. I logged into my carrier account and removed his line. He could port the number if he wanted, but the free ride was over. Step 2, streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Max, Disney Plus, every login he used to unwind from a day of doing almost enough, signed out on all devices, passwords changed. Step 3, the gym. The luxury membership he loved for the towel service and full-length mirrors, canceled before the next billing cycle. Step 4, moving out. I packed only what was mine: the TV, gaming console, coffee maker, the good sheets. Left his things untouched, labeled, and lined along the wall. Then I made a call. "Hey, Terrence, it's Lena. You still looking for a roommate?" On the other end, "Lena, yes. When can you move in?" "How's this weekend?" By Saturday afternoon, my boxes were stacked beneath Terrence's east-facing window, morning light already mapping out a softer life. On the kitchen counter of the old place, I left a note, neatly folded, no venom in the ink. "You're right, you have plenty of options. Rent's due on the 1st, $1,950. Utilities not included. Good luck." I turned the key one last time and let the lock catch. By early evening, the text started. "Mason. Very funny with the Netflix. Put it back on." "Mason. Why isn't my phone working?" "Mason. Where are you?" "Mason. The TV is gone. WTF?" On Sunday morning, my phone lit up with an unknown number. "Lena, what the hell is wrong with you?" Mason said, borrowing Jade's phone. "Hi, Mason. How's exploring those options going?" "This isn't funny. You can't just leave." "Why not? You said I wasn't your only option." "I was joking. You know I didn't mean it like that." It seemed pretty clear. I kept my voice even. "I'm sure one of your admirers would love to help with rent." "You're being psycho. Get back here, right now." "Nah," I said, letting the last letter land. "Good luck, though." I hung up. The calls kept coming. Jade. A couple of his gym buddies. A number saved in my phone as "do not pick up." I blocked them all. But there's always a parent. Monday afternoon, my receptionist pinged me. "Mason is here to see you." "I don't know any Mason," I said. "Please ask him to leave." From the glass line on the mezzanine, I watched security walk him past the ficus and the framed Series A articles. He was saying something that made his hands jump. I didn't strain to read lips. I let the scene be what it was, a clean door that closed. That evening, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number, softer voice. "Lena, honey," Mrs. Rivera said, Mason's mom. "What's going on? Mason says you disappeared." "I moved out," I said. He made it clear he had other options, and I'm respecting that. "He's saying he can't afford the apartment," she said, and there it was, the hinge of every favor I'd granted for 3 years. "That's unfortunate," I said. Maybe he should have thought about that before treating me like an ATM with no feelings. But you two were together 3 years, she offered, as if history were currency. Which is why it hurts, I said, gentler. He laughed in my face about respect. I'm done being disrespected. He didn't mean it, she said. He did, I said, and now he's facing the consequences. Take care, Mrs. Rivera. I put the phone down and looked around Terrence's place. Everything I owned looked oddly honest here. My mugs were just mugs, not evidence for a trial about whether I'd overreacted. The echo of Mason's laugh wasn't in the drywall. I brewed tea and let the kettle fill the room with steam. By Tuesday, the story began to travel through the social veins Mason loved to keep open. Alyssa, his cousin, the bride, texted my old number, then found me on Instagram. Alyssa: Hi, Lena. Just checking if you and Mason booked your flights. Room block closes soon. Me: Hi, Alyssa. We split. He'll need another +1. Congratulations on your wedding, truly. There was a full minute of typing, then a slow ellipsis, then nothing. I could imagine the family group chat turning over like a struck beehive. The facade had been tidy. Now it was daylight. That night, he tried a new voice. His texts arrived like staged apologies. Mason: You know I love you. It was a joke. Everyone jokes. Mason: I'm under so much stress. Work, family. You know how it is. Mason: Let's talk, please. I'll fix Cabo. I'll fix everything. I didn't respond. I posted a photo of Terrence's window catching the 6 p.m. sun, a book and a ceramic cup in the frame. No caption. Just proof that quiet existed. On Wednesday, the facade of options began to fray. A message from a woman I barely knew, Kara, a mutual from Mason's gym scene, slid into my DMs. Kara: Hey, I don't mean to pry. Mason's been telling people you're controlling and that he's a victim. But I saw your note and some screenshots. I'm sorry. Me: Thank you. Take care of yourself. I didn't need a coalition. I needed a boundary. The next evening, Terrence handed me a spare key and a set of labeled shelves in the pantry. House rule, he grinned. Respect first, always. Respect first, I said, testing the shape of the words in my mouth. They felt like a porch light left on for me. When the knock finally came, late Friday, the particular impatience of knuckles that believe they're owed, I let the sound pass through me. Terrence answered. She's not taking visitors, he said, voice friendly, final. Mason's reply was loud enough to shake the door. You can't do this to me. I didn't get up. I didn't explain. I didn't list the utilities I'd paid or the birthdays I hadn't missed or the second chances I'd layered like wallpaper over the years. Some truths only become visible when you stop narrating them. Terrence waited with him until the building's security arrived. The hallway settled back into its late-night hush. A message buzzed as I turned off the lamp. Unknown. You'll regret this. I smiled into the dark. Maybe, I whispered to myself, but not tonight. And for the first time in 3 years, I fell asleep without waiting for the next apology to arrive. The first bill notices hit him before the weekend was over. Rent, utilities, the streaming charges that suddenly boomeranged back at him because you can't log into something that no longer belongs to you. By Monday, the bravado thinned around the edges. I could feel it in the way his texts changed shape. Fewer exclamation points, more ellipses. Ellipses are little pauses where people try to make you fill in the kindness they didn't earn. He tried to lean on the network he bragged about, those options that were, in practice, attention with a shelf life. He texted Jade, then Kara, then 2 of the guys from his gym who always posted carousels of motivational quotes over mirror selfies. Favored replies trickled in, then slowed. Flirtation is loud until rent is due. Online, he went on offense. A post on his story. When you support someone for years and they ghost you the second you need help. Wild. A black square, white text, sad song clip, the language of vague victimhood. I didn't reply. I posted a quiet photo of Terrence's windowsill with an open book and steam curling from a mug. The caption, apartment plants like consistency. People read whatever they want into silence. I let them. By Tuesday evening, Alyssa messaged again. She'd been measured at first. Now she typed like sparks. Alyssa: Mason said you two were still together. The reservation is for a couple's suite. Me: I'm sorry you're finding out like this. We're not together. There was the pause where a person decides whether to be gracious or to be honest. She chose honest. Alyssa: He lied. To my mom, to me. We're 2 weeks out. He told everyone you were handling the details. Lena, I'm furious. I typed, then deleted 3 versions of I understand. I settled on the truth. Me, I hope your wedding is beautiful, truly. Within an hour, Mrs. Rivera called back, voice tight with embarrassment. He should have told us, she said, as if confession were the same as contrition. I told her I hoped the family worked it out. I meant it, and also didn't. Love can hold contradictory truths without collapsing. Mason's response to being exposed was textbook. If the room wouldn't applaud, he'd smash a spotlight. He showed up at my old building with his spare key, jammed it into a lock that my landlord had already changed at my request. Security footage later showed him standing there in a hoodie, bouncing the key like a stubborn thought, then kicking the door. The landlord called me. "Want me to call the cops, Omo?" he asked. I told him to document everything. The world never lacks paper, it lacks memory. He pivoted to apology. The text came in a lilting cluster. Mason, I'm sorry. You know I say dumb things when I'm stressed. Mason, let me make Cabo right. I'll uninvite myself. Mason, please, come home. Home is not a place where your dignity lives in a drawer someone else can lock. I didn't answer. The next morning, he found me anyway. I was ordering coffee at the shop near my old place. The barista still remembered my oat milk, when his shadow fell over the counter. Lena, he said, like we were in the middle of a sentence I had walked away from. I kept my eyes on the menu board. I'm busy. You can't just ignore me. Watch me. He laughed then, a sharp, brittle sound. You ruined my life. I turned, letting my voice lay flat on the counter between us. I stopped funding it. The barista glanced up. Sir, is this person bothering you? She asked me. Yes, I said. My ex can't accept that it's over. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave, the barista told him, professional and done. Are you serious right now? He asked the air, the ceiling, the entire assembled universe that had ceased to arrange itself around him. Leave or we'll call the police. He stormed out and clipped a display of mugs with his backpack. They clattered, one cracked, and the barista, bless her spine, charged him before he could drag the door closed. Consequences are unglamorous and exquisitely exact. That afternoon, the smear campaign peaked. A carousel post, 3 moody photos of his sneakers, an empty couch, and a city sunset with captions about financial abuse and controlling partners who isolate you. The comments split into the usual camps. Some offered hollow hearts. Others asked questions he couldn't answer without tripping on the truth. I posted nothing. Terrence and I ate noodles on the floor of his living room and watched a movie I loved in college. I laughed for the first time in days and startled myself with how it sounded. On Thursday, the manipulation changed flavor. A text from a new number. Unknown. Lena, it's Sabrina. You don't know me, but Mason and I dated before you. He and I have been talking, and I might be pregnant. I stared at the words, then at the clock. The day did not move to accommodate them. Me, when was the last time you saw him? Unknown, a few weeks ago. Me, then congratulations or condolences belong to you and Mason, not to me. A beat later, another text from Mason. You don't have to be cruel. Sabrina's scared. I'm scared. I put my phone face down on the counter. 10 minutes later, I flipped it over. A follow-up from Sabrina. He told me you'd help. He said you're good with money. I blocked the number and felt no guilt. Charity, like love, requires consent. Friday brought the DM I didn't expect. A man named Ethan, one of Mason's gym acquaintances I recognized from the periphery of birthday dinners, sent a screenshot. It was Mason asking to crash on his couch for a week or 2. The tone was half brotherly, half transaction. Ethan's response was polite but crisp. Can't. Boundaries. Underneath, he typed to me. You don't know me, but I saw what he posted. People talk. Most of us, we knew. Good for you, getting out. I replied with 2 words. Thank you. That evening, I did something petty, and I don't mind the truth of that. I created a dating profile. Not to crown myself queen of moving on, not to fling myself into a new mess, but to open a window in my own head and let some air in. Good photos. Accurate bio. No revenge thirst traps. I swiped right on a handful of men whose profiles didn't read like posters in the locker room. Within hours, a few matches. Familiar faces from the outer rings of Mason's orbit, someone who'd been at Jade's cookout, another I'd chatted with once at a birthday. I didn't flirt hard. I didn't need to. The simple truth did what it always does when given time and space. It traveled. By Saturday, word had looped back. Alyssa texted again, wild with exasperation. He told my mom you were still coming. He told me his girlfriend was handling the flight changes. Girlfriend? I imagined the family thread. Mason jars and floral arrangements, now peppered with curses and logistics. I felt bad for her. I did. Weddings ask you to believe in people at their best. It's cruel to discover someone's worst while you're steaming the dress. When I went to bed that night, there were 3 more messages from Mason. Mason, we're toxic when we're apart. Mason, let's be adults. Mason, I'll be outside Terrence's building at 10 tomorrow. You owe me a conversation. He learned the next morning that nobody is owed an audience. Terrence spotted him from the lobby camera first. Your uninvited matinee is here, he said, half grim. We called building security, then waited by the door until a guard escorted him away. He shouted something about lawyers. The word echoed in the stairwell and died there. Lawyers require retainer checks, and those also require respect. Sunday afternoon, I walked to the park with a paperback and sat beneath a tree that refused to apologize for existing. A little girl threw a frisbee crooked and burst into laughing tears. Her father taught her how to angle her wrist. The second throw arced clean and true. Everybody clapped like it mattered, because it did. I let that be my sermon. That night, I posted a photo of the park light folding into dusk. The caption, "Healing isn't loud." 10 minutes later, Kara sent a voice note. He's telling people you were moody and high maintenance, she said, tiredness pulling at the edges of her words. But his old posts, Lena, the ones bragging that you paid for everything, people are sharing them. I think he didn't realize we all saw it. People always see it, I typed, just not always at the same time. On Monday, the landlord from my old building emailed me the security clips and a statement. For your records, he wrote. I filed them. I didn't want to need them. Want has very little to do with what happens next. Mason's final trick that week was performance art in a grocery aisle. I was deciding between 2 jars of pasta sauce, one on sale, one with better tomatoes, when his voice landed at my shoulder. You won, he said, as if this were a game you could close out before it destroyed your knees. I opted out, I said. You turned everyone against me. He gestured broadly, like the canned goods were a jury. You did that, I said. I just stopped narrating over it. He stepped closer. You're not even going to the wedding? I don't go to places where people have to warn each other how I might behave, I said softly. That's your talent. For a second, I saw it, the version of him that might have grown if he'd chosen humility over spectacle. It passed. He knocked his card into mine and rolled away. The woman behind me exhaled the kind of breath you exhale when danger chooses a different aisle. Back at Terrence's, we boiled the good pasta and used the better tomatoes. He poured me a glass of wine and didn't ask for a play-by-play. Respect first, he said instead, toasting the air. Respect first, I said, and believed myself. Some nights, grief arrived on time and sat on the end of the bed, polite and heavy. I let it stay for a few minutes, then turned off the light. Love is a thing I still want, but it will not be carved from the absence of respect. Not again. Outside, the city clicked its small mechanical heart into Monday night. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Somewhere, a door shut. Somewhere else, a dress hung unwrinkled, waiting for vows. I slept. 2 weeks later, his world started to cave in, loudly, publicly, and in perfect rhythm with the choices that built it. It began with a GoFundMe link floating across mutual circles. Help me rebuild after financial abuse. The goal was $10,000. The description was a melodrama of half-truths, how I'd controlled him by paying for everything, then abandoned him when he needed help most. The comments were brutal, the internet version of polite disbelief. So she paid for your life, and that's abuse? Maybe get a job instead of a fundraiser. This is embarrassing. Delete it. He raised $73, all from his mother. A few days later came the legal stunt. A text popped up from an unknown number. Unknown. You'll be served soon. Just giving you a heads up. I didn't even bother to reply. A week later, I got confirmation through a mutual friend. He'd actually gone to a lawyer claiming unjust enrichment because he'd performed domestic labor while I paid the bills. Domestic labor. The man reheated takeout and left the containers on the counter. The case never left the consultation stage. Apparently, even the lawyer laughed him out of the office. When that failed, he tried the oldest card in the book, guilt dressed as tragedy. Late one night, another message appeared. Mason, I'm homeless. You happy now? I stared at it for a while, not because I was tempted to respond, but because there was a time I would have. I would have called, sent money, solved it. That reflex was gone now. Instead, I texted back one line. Me. Actions have bills, Mason. You can't keep writing checks in disrespect. He didn't reply. 3 days later, Terrence looked out our window and sighed. He's out front again, he said. Mason had driven 2 hours from wherever he was staying to park across the street. He sat there in his car, engine idling, eyes fixed on the building. Terrence called the cops. They came, checked his ID, and escorted him off with a warning. He left, but not before dragging his key down the side of my car. Security footage caught it perfectly. I filed a police report, the insurance claim, and a vandalism charge. He got probation and fines he couldn't pay. The next week, he took his heartbreak to TikTok, a series called Dating a Narcissist, My Story. Dramatic music, stitched photos from our old vacations, captions about healing from control. But the internet has a memory. Someone found his older posts, the ones bragging about how his girlfriend handled rent like a boss, about getting pampered because she can afford it. Screenshots spread fast. The comments turned savage. Bro, you called her your ATM. She paid for everything and you played victim? You burned your own bridge. He deleted the videos, then his account. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, I started to breathe normally again. One evening, Terrence handed me a plate of pasta and said, "You look lighter." I think I stopped carrying proof, I said. Proof of what? That I was right. He nodded. Sometimes peace is proof. He was right. A month later, I ran into Kieran, one of Mason's old gym acquaintances, the same one who'd once messaged to say, "Good for you." He was in line behind me at the farmer's market, holding basil and a bag of lemons. He smiled, hesitant but kind. "Hey," he said, "Lena, right? How have you been?" "Better," I said. We talked for a few minutes. Neutral, easy, the way conversations feel when they aren't weighed down by history. He offered to carry my bag to the car. I let him. That was all. A few weeks after that, he texted about a concert downtown. "No pressure," he added, which was the first time in years I'd heard that phrase and believed it. I went. We didn't rush into anything. We didn't label it. We just laughed, shared food, told the truth in small pieces. He never asked for rescue. I never offered. That's how I knew it was different. Meanwhile, Mason's life unraveled exactly the way neglected truths tend to. The vandalism fines piled up. His parents, tired of enabling him, kicked him out after he stole their credit card to buy a plane ticket to Cabo, the same wedding he'd once mocked me for questioning. He went anyway, alone, and apparently got removed from the reception for drunkenly arguing with the bride's uncle. The universe has a sense of rhythm. He lost his job next. Too many missed shifts, too many excuses. No home, no car that wasn't keyed in return, no circle of friends left to applaud the performance. When his mother called me again, her voice was soft and tired. "He's back here now," she said, "working at a fast food place. I'm sorry for everything." "I appreciate that," I said, and I meant it. Closure doesn't always need fireworks. Sometimes it's just a sigh that isn't yours. A few months later, I got promoted. It wasn't a grand, cinematic moment, just my boss sliding an envelope across the table and saying, "You've earned this." But it felt like something steady, something earned from within. Terrence joked that we'd turned our apartment into a respect sanctuary. No throw pillows, just peace. Sometimes when I'm cleaning or watering the plants, I think about those 3 years. The money I spent, the emotions I wasted, the nights I let apologies stand in for change. Then I remember what I learned. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When they laugh at the idea of respecting you, laugh back by respecting yourself. When they tell you you're not their only option, prove them right by becoming your own best option. Mason thought having options meant keeping people orbiting him while treating them like background noise. But options mean nothing when you've burned every bridge and everyone finally sees the pattern. I didn't ruin his life. I just stopped holding it up. He did the rest. And as I watched the sun dip below the buildings outside Terrence's window that evening, I realized something simple and freeing. The best revenge isn't revenge. It's peace. It's walking away and never looking back.